This is the honest review of iPhone 15 Pro Max, and this is the best iPhone yet that most of us don't need. There are a few things that's new on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. I feel like some of them are gimmicky, so we will quickly unbox it while talking about all the awesome features of the 15 Pro Max. Let's say for example the spatial video, that 3D video render if anyone is using Vision Pro, but not everyone affords an accessory for the Apple ecosystem, so that's one feature that not all of us will use. And that's one thing Apple does, they would try to connect their popular devices to other accessories, so you will buy them too. It's a good feature, but you still need to buy the Apple Vision Pro. Okay, so the first major upgrade of the iPhone 15 Pro Max is the A17 Bionic Pro, and not just a regular A17 Bionic, but this time, they put a Pro on it. A17 Bionic or Bionic Pro works the same in terms of performance, and Apple is claiming that these processors are the fastest smartphone processors today. Apple has partnered with a lot of game developers to optimize the performance of the game using A17 Bionic or A17 Bionic Pro. The difference of the Pro version is the chip inside that provides faster charging and data speed. Not Thunderbolt speed, but USB 3.0. The second thing that's new on the iPhone 15 series is the USB-C port. This move is not because of Apple's courage, but they need to comply with the new EU rule that in 2024 all devices should be USB-C standard. It's been a while, like forever, that Apple is using Lightning cable, and because they're getting more money out of the Lightning cable, they stuck with it, but now they're forced to use USB-C on the iPhone, and the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max can deliver fast charging with the speed of USB 3.0. Again, this charging technology is only unique for Pro versions, so if you're using the regular iPhone 15 and 15 Plus, you only get USB 2.0. One of the best features I like about this iPhone is the voice isolation. It doesn't increase the voice quality of your call, but it eliminates the background noise. So just in case you're in public and someone calls you, you can use the voice isolation to eliminate the background noise. Action button replaces the silent switch or the mute toggle on the side of the iPhone. And phones like Samsung has this forever with their Bixby button, and some other Chinese phones that uses a dedicated key for certain functions. I know that Sony phones has it, and the Unihertz brand, if you're familiar with them, they have their own action key with the red accent, and you can map certain functions or apps to open when you click it. Now you just have to remember that on the left side of the iPhone 15 Pro Max, you now have 3 buttons for the volume rocker and the action button. There are upgrades on the camera, especially on the stabilization of the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max, but it's not marginally different with what we have on the already great iPhone 14 Pro. They first introduced the action mode on the iPhone 14 Pro, and I don't see any significant advantage of the gimbal-like stabilization, but it would help you with low-light scenarios and even active movements. But I think the biggest change on the Pro Max is the 5x zoom. It's now equal to the Google Pixel Pro's 5x reach. I would do a separate camera comparison video of this phone versus the flagship Google Pixel 7 Pro, S23 Ultra and other flagship in the future, so don't forget to subscribe. But if you want to know how the camera performs on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, here are the sample photos and videos. This is the selfie video recording of iPhone 15 Pro Max, and this looks really good in 4K 30 FPS.
Watch yourself, huh? Yeah, you make it look good. Don't let it watch yourself, huh? Cause you make it look good. You make it look good. Watch yourself, huh? Yeah, you make it look good. Don't let it watch yourself, huh? Cause you make it look good.
Now this is the cinematic mode, still using the selfie camera of the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and we'll switch to the rear camera. Hey, this is the rear camera of the iPhone 15 Pro Max cinematic mode. Which do you think is better, the rear camera or the selfie camera? Leave your comment down below.
I was always inclined to make history, but I never really had the time. Spent my life living dangerously, never worried how I'm getting by. I'm out here working, trying to do what I can. I'm out here sweating, dripping.
And the last new thing that is a welcome addition, not groundbreaking but a good upgrade, is the weight. It is lighter because it's now using titanium. They still have ceramic shield glass that covers the front of the screen, but now together with titanium. You have 4 color options from natural, blue, white, and black, and I like that Apple didn't give iPhone 15 Pro series weird color names, so thumbs up for that. The design of the phone looks similar to last year with triple camera setup at the back, and in front you'll still have the dynamic island, though this year they opened this feature on all iPhone 15 series. So these are the new things about the new iPhone 15 Pro Max. I should say that these are the refined upgrades from last year. So with all the new cool things, let's talk about why iPhone 15 Pro Max is the best. There are 5 reasons why iPhone 15 Pro Max is the best, and although this model is very expensive, but people are still buying it. In fact, when I pre-ordered the iPhone 15 Pro Max in just a matter of hours, the pickup day from September 22nd was moved to a later of October. So it means here in Canada there's a lot of back orders for this model, but why are people buying this? The first reason is familiarity. If you're coming from any iPhone models or previous versions, everyone is eyeing for the maxed out version, which is the Pro Max, because of everything it offers. Sure, this is expensive in other regions, but for countries that network companies tie up their plans with iPhones, people tends to order the Pro Max. Also, some people that I talk to, they actually save money for the next year's model, or anyone upgrading from a couple of years, they would go for the Pro Max. This is because of the familiarity of the ecosystem, the design, build, and what you get out of the Apple ecosystem. From iMessaging, FaceTime, Apple Pay, Apple Music, and a whole lot of games, the AirDrop, and really good choices of quality earbuds and smartwatches that you can pair with Apple iPhones. And same goes with iPhone 15 Pro Max, the new Vision Pro, and so on. So overall, the experience is very familiar with Apple users. Next is the subtle refinements. People misidentify this as boring because there's no crazy ideas coming out of the new iPhones. Android phones and manufacturers tend to create new stuff that makes Android phones and ecosystem exciting, but later on will be adopted by Apple ecosystem as part of their upgrades. Let's say just the software widgets and dynamic island, which is a punch hole on Android. Apple made it really good because it's dynamic and information it provides depending on what you're doing on the iPhone. And this year there's nothing short of refinements like the USB-C port and action button, dynamic island and 5x zoom, to name a few. The third reason is the ecosystem. So imagine you have the best iPhones in terms of hardware and specs, and it's running on the more popular ecosystem that Apple users know. And not just for iPhones, you also have the MacBook, Vision Pro, and iPads, and you can connect all devices to your iCloud. So for Apple users and fans, normally the upgrade to the maxed out version is a very popular choice, and that iPhone is also running on the familiar iOS ecosystem. The fourth reason is support. Yes, Apple will charge you with the support for battery replacement, screen replacement, and other physical issues. But if you have a faulty iPhone, for instance, like bad battery, Apple will automatically replace your iPhone or provide service to it, no questions asked. And aside from technical support, they also have support for a lot of accessories like cases, charger, cables, wearables, and even just applications. Developers will always consider iOS, so if there's anything that comes up tomorrow, you'll be sure that your iPhone will have that. And lastly, the resale value. So you might think that iPhone 15 Pro Max is really expensive, but in reality, down the road, if you wanted to resell your iPhone 15 Pro Max, it will not depreciate that much. As long as you keep the battery healthy or service it, you may be able to get 70 to 80% of the purchase value after a year or maybe more. If you keep all the accessories intact or you already have a case and screen protector aside from the phone, this would also add up to the resale value. So these are the 5 reasons why I think iPhone 15 Pro Max is the best. Now let's quickly talk about why people do not need this iPhone. iPhone 15 Pro Max is not all rainbows, and it has a fair share of things that I don't believe in. And I have 3 reasons why I think a lot of people don't need this phone right now. The first reason is this phone is expensive. I don't think with all the technology that's built in on this iPhone 15 Pro Max that this should cost almost 2,000 Canadian dollars. I mean, $2,000 is too much for a smartphone that might be inferior on some category on features compared to an Android phone. To start with, I believe that the camera isn't better compared to other Android phones, and Apple never claims this. They would just say the best camera on an iPhone, because I think they recognize that what they're putting out there is the brand name and not the performance of the iPhone. So this phone is more of a social status or social symbol for many, and not everyone will use its full capacity and will not justify $2,000 for all these features. The second reason is the design and face value. There's not enough distinction on the previous iPhone and iPhone 15 Pro Max. In fact, the only difference is it's titanium and nothing else. If you snap a case on this phone, which most of us will do since we don't want to break our very expensive iPhone, then you wouldn't know the difference between the previous iPhone and today. Yes, it's familiar, but kind of boring right now when you look into it. And lastly, I feel like Apple is not innovating anymore. There's just lack of innovation in the iPhones right now. And even the USB-C port is not even in their plan but an accident, since EU will not allow iPhones to be sold with Lightning port because everything should be USB-C standard. And basically, the scheme here is they would let Android brands to innovate first and they will refine those in the future. So basically, they're copying the Android features and ecosystem. iPhones are always behind innovation and majority of these features are just pure marketing work. So these are the 3 reasons why people wouldn't buy this phone. I strongly feel that the price they put on these iPhones are too much for what it's truly worth. If Google can be sold half the price of an iPhone, and I can tell you they perform similar since I've been testing all these phones, it's too much for an asking price. But hey, people wanted to be perceived rich, so they will still buy it anyways. So this is the new iPhone 15 Pro Max. Is it worth it? The iPhone 15 Pro Max is worth it for those people who wanted to buy the best iPhone yet in the market. If you're going to buy an iPhone, you have to think how Apple thinks. They're not competing with the Android phones, they are competing with the previous iPhone models. The name of the game isn't beating the Android competition, but making sure that the good stuff on the previous model will be refined next year. iPhone 15 Pro Max is the refined version of last year's iPhone 14 Pro Max, and there's so many writings on this phone, it becomes hard to nitpick. Almost perfect. But that doesn't mean it's the best iPhone, it's the best smartphone, because I believe if you look at the Android space, there's a lot of phones that can still compete with the iPhone 15 Pro Max and what it can offer. There is the older Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra that has 8K video recording, S Pen, and that ridiculous 100x space zoom with that gorgeous AMOLED screen. We also have the Pixel 7 Pro or the newest Pixel 8 Pro that may not be competing with the speed of the A17 Bionic Pro, but the cameras would be as good or even better for sure than iPhone 15 Pro Max. This iPhone might have a really good set of sensors, but nothing beats the computational photography of Google. Again, with all these things surrounding the iPhone 15 Pro Max, it's really a love and hate relationship because honestly, this is the best iPhone yet that most of us don't need. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll continue to compare this phone in our channel, maybe the Samsung Galaxy S23, the Google Pixel 7 Pro, and the 8 Pro, so stay tuned. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.